Hello everyone, welcome back to the channel. It's been a minute. We all remember me saying that I was going to upload more consistently now. Turns out I am a liar. Today I want to do a little book haul as part of my TBR project series. If you haven't seen the first part, the TBR project, basically a series I started because my TBR was very sad and uninspiring to me. And the goal originally was to reduce the TBR to 0. I have purchased, I think, like 15 books in the last 3 weeks or so. So we're moving further away from the 0 books than we are getting towards it. I don't want any judgment. Can we just start the haul, please? These aren't in any particular order. I have only read one of these books so far, and I am not willing to accept any criticism or judgment at this point in time. The first book I have here is Rebecca by Daphne DuMaurier. I visited home last weekend, and me and my boyfriend went to a little used bookstore in our area that has been there since forever, and I just somehow never went, but it was very magical. It was just like this regular family house, but every room was just filled to the brim with bookcases, and it was very cool. And I got myself this gorgeous edition of Rebecca. Now, usually I don't get translations if I'm capable of reading the original, just because I have read so many books where reading the translation really harmed the overall reading experience, and if I can read it as the author intended it, why wouldn't I? Well, because look at this edition. That's why. Also, for some reason the top is like painted but the rest of the pages aren't, so I don't know what that is about. I am a little bit afraid just because this is from the 50s, this book, and so the German obviously also is from the 50s. So I'm not entirely sure how I will feel about the writing style, but nonetheless I am very excited for this. I have heard a lot of great reviews, and I think especially for like fall and winter, this is going to be a great book. Although now that I live further south in Germany, it's been so sunny, it's actually kind of insane. The sun is just shining all day, every day, and my northern German ass cannot cope with this, okay? Then I got a very exciting book. I got Solitaire by Alice Oseman. For those of you that don't know somehow, Alice Oseman is one of my favorite authors of all time. You can see her books kind of up there. And this is the last of her full novels that I have yet to read. I haven't read Heartstopper yet, and I also haven't read the novellas that kind of also surround the characters from Heartstopper, but this was her original very first novel. And the characters from Heartstopper and This Winter and Nick and Charlie are all in this book. And I just wanted to read this one first for some reason. Also, don't hate me, but I feel kind of... I feel like it might not be worth it to buy the graphic novels for like 12 euros a piece if I read them in 2 hours. And I know that's bad, and I know I could technically also just read them online, but I also don't want to do that because, you know, I want to support my favorite author. I don't know. I feel a little bit conflicted about that. But nonetheless, I am very excited for this one, although I'm a little bit afraid because I think this is her debut, as I said, and her novels definitely get better with each book, so I'm a little bit afraid that I won't like this one as much just because she as a writer wasn't as good when she wrote this, but I'll see. Next up, I have a book that's actually for a video, so I'm not going to talk about it too much. It's a fantasy. I was in between a few books, but this one, oh my god, okay, I have to read you the first line. I was in between a few books, and then I read like the first pages or so of them, and for this one I only read the first line and I knew, okay? Once upon a time, on the coldest night of midwinter, in the darkest heart of the forest, death and fortune came to a crossroads. Slay. Like, honestly, what a killer first line. I don't care what this book is about, I don't care how the rest of the book is. Quite frankly, I like my ponytail. Sorry. I only care about that first sentence, and there will be a video including this book sometime. in the next few months, hopefully. Then I got this one. Okay, now we get into the territory of not planned purchases. I got the entire A Good Girl's Guide to Murder trilogy. Now, in my defense, I actually bought the first book with Solitaire and Little Thieves when I was book shopping with my sister. And I only got the first one because I am better than people that buy all the series at once. Or so I thought. Anyway, so I bought this one and then I read this one, okay? This is the one I have already read. And I was obsessed. I finished this Friday, it's Sunday today. Finished this Friday and I was obsessed, okay? I literally wrote my Goodreads review on my way to get the second book, which I'm now about halfway through. And then I was like, okay, in case I finish this on Saturday, like yesterday, I need the third book because I can't go and get it on Sunday. So I went yesterday and also got the third book. I ended up being a lot busier yesterday than I anticipated, so I didn't actually finish the second book. But I do think that once I do, I will jump immediately into the third one, because generally speaking, once I start a series, if I don't read them consecutively, they just get lost and it takes me a year in between books to actually read them. So yeah, halfway through the second one, hopefully also reading the third one soon. And then I also bought these ones when I was in my hometown, because the thing is, the bookstore that I have been going to here in my new town doesn't have the biggest selection of classics. Now, I haven't really branched out and tried a lot of different bookstores, but the one that is the most readily available and also the biggest kind of, I feel like, in this area isn't stacked that well with classics. Now, I do read a lot of classics and I also like buying a lot of classics. And my bookstore at home has like a whole area just for the classics, and they have a lot of them. So I bought 4 books. The second one was an impulse buy. It's The Hobbit, and I truthfully only bought it because of this edition, because look at how cute it, look at how tiny, first of all. Like, this is, I have small hands, okay? I promise you, I have tiny hands, and this book is about as big as my hand. I also like the cover. It's a hardcover. Hardcover. It wasn't that expensive, which was also very nice. And I just had to, truthfully. I do want to read The Hobbit. Like, I didn't just buy it for the edition. I've been thinking about reading this because a few people that I follow have recently just kind of coincidentally been reading it at the same time. And they've inspired me. I also want to read this book now. Yeah. So I got it and I'm going to read it. Don't judge me. And then I bought 3 of the Penguin English libraries. The first one, A Study in Scarlet. One thing I've learned about myself this year is that I'm actually pretty big into mystery. Like, I really enjoy all sorts of mysteries. I'm a big Agatha Christie fan. You can see my collection there. I'm a big Agatha Christie fan. I've been loving the Good Girl's Guide to Murder. I'm also still in the middle of the last Inheritance Games books, the Final Gambit, I believe, and I'm also really enjoying that one. I have just been really liking mysteries, and I feel like Sir Arthur Conan Doyle is just such a baseline when it comes to mysteries. Again, this is A Study in Scarlet, which is the first of the Sherlock Holmes novels. I don't think it matters too much in what order you read them, but I felt that starting with the first one was probably a good call. Also, it's very short. So yeah, I got this one. Okay, this one, I need you to bear with me, okay? Don't judge me, please. I got Great Expectations by Charles Dickens. Okay, listen up, let me tell you a story. The story that you think you've heard before. We know you know our name and our fame and our faces. This book, right here, A Christmas Carol, is my favorite book of all time. I have read it every single year for the past like 5 or 6 years. I love literally every single movie adaptation there is of this book. I am obsessed with A Christmas Carol by Charles Dickens, okay? And so eventually I was like, you know what? I could read another book by Charles Dickens. So I picked up A Tale of Two Cities. I am pretty much exactly halfway through this book, and I started in 2020. I don't think it's a bad book. I just, for some reason, can't make my way through this. And so now you might be thinking, Mariella, why would you get another book by this author if you're still reading one and you're probably still going to be reading it for the next like 3 years? Well, viewer, that is a good question. I like the cover. It's true, I do like the cover. I have also heard a lot of people say that they think this is a great beginner Dickens, and I feel like I just need to make my way through a book of his in order to convince myself that I can actually finish A Tale of Two Cities. Because I just don't believe in myself enough to think I can finish that book, you know? So I want to read this one. I have also once started this one like as an ebook, and I got about 1 chapter or so in, but at the time, it seemed pretty manageable to me. We love. And then the last one that I have physically here with me right now. What's it called? The Call of the Wild by Jack London. I have eyed this book for possibly, for the past like at least 8 months. Every single time I went to the bookstore, I would pick this up, I would read the synopsis, I would flip through the pages, maybe read the first page. I've possibly read this first page 100 times at this point. And I never bought it. And then I was like, you know what? If the mood ever strikes now that I'm living where I'm living, I won't be able to get this as readily as I would have in my hometown. So I was just like, you can get it, whatever. Also, it was only €7, which I feel like is a pretty reasonable price for a paperback book. So yeah. Oh, it also has the sticker. Wait. I love these. These come off so smoothly. 10 out of 10. Yeah. And then I also ordered a few books. I ordered them used. They haven't come in yet, but I don't want to wait till they do because it might take like another week or so and I want to get this video out. So I'm just going to talk about them real quick. I got the 5th and 6th Harry Potter books. So Harry Potter and the Order of the Phoenix and Harry Potter and the Half-Blood Prince. I have the Harry Potter books in English up to the 4th book, and that is originally how far I got. However, this year I finished finally the 4th book, I finished the 5th book, and I'm currently in the middle of the 6th book. And while I am reading them on ebook this time, I definitely still do want to own them because I do want to annotate them. And honestly, since I now have the first 4 books, it just kind of bothers me that I don't have the rest of the series. And I didn't want to get them new because I don't want J.K. Rowling to put my money towards transphobic organizations. So I bought them used and they haven't arrived yet, and I hope they are in somewhat decent condition. And then I also finally got myself a copy of Dune. Similarly, I have read Dune, which is like one of the biggest accomplishments of my life, truthfully. And I read it as an ebook and I loved Dune. One of my favorite books of this year, truthfully. It took me like 7 months to read. I started last year in September when the film first came out. Different story. Anyway, I finished Dune this year in April, and whenever I was reading it, I was like thinking about wanting to annotate it. Like so many of the parts were just so interesting to me and I definitely wanted to annotate them, and I always thought about getting a physical copy, but since I had the ebook, I was like, it'll be such a waste of money. It won't be, and I'm very glad that I got it. And I decided to get it used just because it was cheap, and you won't see them in person, at least not in this video. If you have any of these books on your TBR, if you've read any of these books, if you think I should prioritize any of these books, let me know. I'm going to put them back on my bookcase now, and I hope you all have a beautiful and sunny early winter / late fall day, and I will see you in my next video. Bye.